Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a podcast and videocast from univrm.com. Today is an opinion article titled, "There is no hope, only action to create effect." The title of this piece, one of our opinion articles, a bit overstated because who knows what random event the universe may place in front of oneself. In general, hope is the solace of last resort. Many people hope X or Y takes place. In general, hope seems to turn out better if one does something to help hope along. There is an interesting story circulating the banking community about how they felt snubbed by Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. Facebook is preparing to do one of the world's largest initial public offerings, raising $10 billion and valuing the company at $100 billion. Normally, entrepreneurs have to beg and plead with bankers. Not in this case, as Mr. Zuckerberg not only made them receive less for their services, but also didn't think it worth his time to meet with them, sending lower-level officers to do so. He violated standard business practice by not making the capitalistic Hajj to New York City, and instead required them to show up at the company's Menlo Park office. He retained control of his company through a series of B shares, such that the bankers will have very little to say about what the company does. In short, and with a cheer from everyone, he put bankers in their place, and while they are not happy, they are greedy enough to go along with it so they can make bucks off you, the people who will buy the stock when it goes public. The bankers further embarrassed when he didn't bother to tell them he was buying a $1 billion company yesterday. You just know there is some cabal of bankers reenacting a scene from The Wizard of Oz. Just wait, my pretty, we'll get you and your little dog too. Why, you ask, does it matter what some spoiled, rich 28-year-old billionaire does to bankers? If you listen very carefully, you can hear the worm turning. Bankers, other than ruining world economies, produce and create nothing. They might have you believe through paper and verbal magic they create derivatives, options, and other paper financial instruments. Yes, the same instruments that put all economies in turmoil through extremely complicated forms of gambling which no one but themselves understand. Their cohorts in unproductive behaviors, lawyers, enable them to do so and produce yet more paper and hot air. Legalizing all this nonsense is yet more sellers of other type of papers, laws by politicians, to whatever group is funding them, and strangely enough, not. Most of them are lawyers as well as politicians. As pointed out in one of our other opinion articles yesterday, the culture of greed is way out of control. The parasites of greed, bankers and lawyers and politicians, somehow believe they are now the host instead of the parasite feeding off the host. Most of us don't really care about Mr. Zuckerberg or Facebook, which stopped being cool a long time ago, but we do applaud his disdain for parasites, and if more people follow his example, perhaps entrepreneurs and industry will start to work and create jobs. The parasites may have to adjust to being parasites rather than tax minimum wage earners to pay for their gambling losses. Probably a pipe dream, but wouldn't it be nice if that were the case? One wonders what would happen if people simply stopped paying taxes. Perhaps stupid things like wars in countries when you don't know where they are on a map, bailing out bankers too big to fail, and perpetuating a parasitic culture crumble? There really aren't enough jails to comply with all the parasites' broken rules if everyone did it. When companies or people do this, they go broke and have to start over. New people and companies come along and do it differently. Guess what happens when the host of a parasite dies? The parasite dies too. Surprise. This doesn't usually happen in a historic sense until many of the parasites toppled by the host going postal on their fantasy worlds. Perhaps, and just perhaps, if more business people, entrepreneurs, and those trying to create something other than paper nonsense did more of what Mr. Zuckerberg did and less of what their vocal parasites want, things might actually start to change. Don't count on it. Sometimes all you can do is hope. Things will get better because you don't know of a way to do more than simply hope. Religion, the largest business of all, has very effectively used this message for millennia. On the other hand, there is a little tidbit of wisdom offered up by this article's title. There is no hope, only action to create effect. This has been copyright 2012, univrm.com, trademarked, all rights reserved. At univrm.com, we create original content with humor and satire on current event news, opinion articles, economy articles, science current events, and our science fiction book series titled Change Hope. As an advertisement, there is a donations accepted button on our website at www.univrm.com, and donations welcomed to help us keep publishing in difficult economic times. As a second advertisement, please remember univrm.com offering our science fiction book series, Change Hope, released as a series on a chapter and book-by-book bases like the old Amazing Stories magazine. Change Hope available in all ebook formats and as an audiobook. You can download the first chapter free by going to www.univrm.com/downloads/. You can listen to this article via podcast at the iTunes Store by subscribing to univrm.com, or read it on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at the UNIVRM channel. This has been a podcast and videocast from univrm.com, and we hope to bring you more in future.